Hello and welcome to a new episode of The Collector, and hey, thanks for watching. And today we will be looking at 10 shmups that you do not want to miss on the Game Boy. And shmup is short for shoot 'em up, which is a horizontal or vertical shoot 'em up where you fly some sort of a small ship and the screen moves automatically, or not necessarily, but you are fighting hordes of enemies. And first we have Xenon 2. This is a shmup on the Game Boy that does things a bit more differently, but it keeps you entertained. Designed by the Bitmap brothers and published by Imageworks, it follows their earlier success with Xenon and Speedball. When I first booted up this game, I was skeptical. It felt slow and I thought, oh, this is going to be a little bit dull. But once I got into it, I realized it had a lot to offer. You can buy upgrades like extra lives and speed, and once you start stacking weapons, your arsenal stays with you even after you die. The game also introduces some unique mechanics. You can back up and the screen moves with you, which is unusual for a shmup. Enemies can also attack from behind, so clearing them up is essential. Another standout feature? You do not have to fear walls. Colliding with them won't destroy your ship, which is a welcome change. The graphics are impressive for the Game Boy and the music keeps you on edge. Be warned though, this game is brutal and once you run out of lives, then it's game over, all the way from the beginning. But despite that, Xenon 2 is a must-play shmup on the Game Boy. Next up we have Sagaya, a Japan exclusive shoot 'em up on the Game Boy released in 1991. This is a port of the arcade classic Darius 2. While this game is single player only and lacks formation bonuses and zone selection, it makes up for it with a well-balanced difficulty curve. The game even features 3 different endings based on the difficulty. And since the Game Boy lacks color, the power-ups are identified by some unique symbols. Visually, Sagaya looks great and it runs at a solid pace. One of its most intriguing elements is the bosses, all of which resemble sea creatures. However, while the music starts off strong, it quickly becomes repetitive and grating, and I found myself lowering the volume. The power-up system includes energy fields, bombs, and double shot, but beware, if you die, all upgrades reset to 0. And unlike Xenon 2, walls are deadly. Despite this, Sagaya is a fantastic shmup and a must-play on the Game Boy. And welcome Parodius, one of the most delighted shmups on the Game Boy. Inspired by the Gradius series, it blends elements from Twin B to create a light-hearted shoot 'em up experience. Upon starting, you can choose between Vic Viper, the Gradius ship, the Twin B ship, a penguin, or an octopus, each with unique arsenal. Power-up system follows the Gradius formats where collecting orbs allows you to select upgrades for a bar at the bottom of the screen. Developed and published by Konami, Parodius is a part of a long-running series spanning from 1988 from the MSX to 2007 on the PSP. The Game Boy version showcases impressive graphics and stellar music. I'm definitely adding this soundtrack to my playlist. The first stage takes place in space, culminating in a boss battle against a giant cat ship. The second level switches to a circus theme, featuring clown enemies and quirky obstacles. And unlike most shmups, you can scroll up and down, giving you more freedom of move. Sadly, I had to stop here to move on to the next review, but trust me, this game delivers. Parodius is one of those shmups that you do not want to miss on the Game Boy. And next up is Tailspin, and I had no idea this game was ported to the Game Boy. I only thought it was an NES game. Developed by Capcom in 1991 and released for the Game Boy in 92, this version is a slightly stripped down adaptation of the NES title. When you first boot it up, the large sprites makes it awkward, but you get used to them. The game introduces a unique mechanic. Pressing A makes you turn around, causing the screen to scroll backwards. And this is crucial for finding loot and hidden areas. Pro tip here, keep shooting the sky. Secret stashes of money and hidden door containing extra lives are scattered throughout the game. And trust me, you'll need them. The game is short, 4 stages, but the bosses are brutal. The second boss in particular almost made me quit. Hint, shoot down the crane first. Despite its shortcoming, Tailspin boasts great graphic, amazing sound and great fun. This one also falls in the cute 'em up category, and it's one of those shmups that you do not want to miss on the Game Boy. If you're familiar with Nemesis, then prepare for Nemesis 2, The Return of the Hero. This is also called Gradius Interstellar Assault in USA. Developed and published by Konami, this 1991 and 1992 release refines everything from its predecessor. Better graphics, improved stage design and epic soundtrack. You pilot the Vic Viper through 5 intense stages, with some areas allowing scrolling vertical shoot 'em up. The game starts with an awesome intro. You're flying alongside allied ship forces when a massive enemy cruiser appears and obliterates them. You have no choice but to flee, dodging asteroids while a pulse-pounding chase theme kicks in. Tension is incredible. The gameplay sticks to the Nemesis tradition, featuring a power-up bar with speed, missile, split attack, laser, satellites and shields. Managing these upgrades is an essential thing as things get hectic fast. Thankfully, the game has checkpoints and infinite continues, giving you a fighting chance. If you master it, you can beat the game fairly quickly, but getting there will take some attempts. Simply put, Nemesis 2 is almost a near perfect shmup, and it's one of those games you do not want to miss on the Game Boy. Enter Solar Strike, which is a shoot 'em up developed and published by Nintendo in 1990. This one is special as it was designed by Gunpei Yokoi, the father of Game Boy. However, it's a fairly simple game rather than a complex one. The gameplay throws you straight into the action, no story, no setup. You fly upwards as enemies descend in different patterns, leading to a boss battle at the end of each level. There are 6 stages, each with unique enemy designs, which is admirable. But as mentioned, the gameplay remains fairly straightforward. Power-ups are essential. Every 2 power-ups, you get 1 upgrade to your weapon, and when your ship gets destroyed, you only lose 1 upgrade rather than all of them. This is fantastic as you'll need these power-ups to survive. The difficulty ramps up fast. I only made it to level 4 for this review, but with persistence, I'm confident I can beat it. Interestingly, there is a hard mode that gets unlocked after completing the game for the first time, which makes things interesting, and I can see how an experienced shmup player can master this in a couple of hours, and replayability is key here. And nonetheless, Solar Strike is a shmup that you do not want to miss on the Game Boy. Okay, and up next is Star Hawk, and this is an interesting one indeed. This one was developed by NMS Software and published by Accolade in 1993, quite late. This game arrived during the time when developers were pushing the Game Boy's graphics capability to new heights. For context, The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening was released the same year, demonstrating what was possible on the system. Starhawk doesn't disappoint in this regard, featuring excellent graphics and beautiful parallax scrolling. In this game, you take control of a master marine, piloting the scout ship Starhawk. Your mission? To explore the evil empire of Oxstar. Star, a planet teeming with mutants, half organic, half technological, which have a singular instinct, and that is to attack. The game spans 5 beautiful design stages, though I only made it to level 3. The difficulty isn't brutal, but it does take some getting used to. A couple of things stand out as odd. In some stages, power-ups seems to have no immediate effect, while ship upgrades only kicking in later stages. Not sure why this happened, but it happened to me, but this game is a bit awkward at times. Like in stage 2, there's a strange moment where nothing happens for about 20 seconds, so you just wait. Not sure what's up with that as well. One thing to note, Starhawk is expensive. Copies go for about £200 and it even got a limited run release. And while I can't say for certain it is worth that much, I can definitely say this is one of those shmups that you do not want to miss on the Game Boy. And Battle Unit Zeot starts up a little bit different than most other shmups out there. Developed by Jaleco in 1990, this game makes full use of the Game Boy's power, featuring amazing music and smooth scrolling backgrounds. At first though, the control system feels odd, but it quickly grows on you. One button activates the engine while the other is for shooting. You can fire in all directions, though the screen moves automatically like in many other shmups. The story: aliens have invaded Earth with their machine, forcing humankind to unite and build the ultimate defense robot to fight back. And after successfully driving them out, the battle resumes as the machines being self-replicated in a secret cavern. The game features 2 types of level, horizontal and vertical. Every 2 stages you alternate between these formats. And while the levels are not too difficult, it does take some getting used to as enemies attack from all directions. Each stage culminates in a mechanical boss battle, with some fights proving more challenging than others. The music is phenomenal, especially in level 5, where they created some wild tunes. And it definitely complements the action. Sadly, I did not pass level 5, but I know for a fact that this is one of those shmups that you do not want to miss on the Game Boy. And R-Type 2 is a shmup developed and published by IREM in 1989 and was later ported to the Game Boy in 1992. And while the game looks beautiful, has its limitation like slowdown and a lot of cuts needed to happen from the original game, like fewer stages and boss battles. The player controls a ship called R9C, which is an improved version of its predecessor, the R9. The ship design was changed slightly and the wave cannon was given a new level of charge. This game looks and sounds incredible, but does have slowdown here and there. I like the gimmicks of this game though, like the one in stage 2 where if you pass through the waterfall, you will feel it dragging you down. You can spam the attack button really fast or hold it for a charge cannon that has 2 levels. The bosses though are crazy and it will take some getting used to. One thing to mention is that the satellite you receive your power-ups through does not count as your hitbox. I was trying here with the level 1 boss to keep it from hitting me by evading the whole thing. Turns out you only need to be concerned for the main body of the ship and not the satellite. Difficult and beautiful game, but definitely worth mastering. And I know for a fact this is one of those games that you do not want to miss on the Game Boy. And Zoids is an interesting one because it is not a perfect game. What I mean by that is that it doesn't fully utilizes the Game Boy capabilities. Released in 1990 by Nova Games, this is a horizontal shmup that, while simple, offers a fun experience. At the start, you can choose between two pilots, one from the Republic and one from the Empire, and each with the goal of destroying the other. The graphics here are basic and the gameplay follows along. You have 3 lives, and each time you lose one, your Zoid transforms. A cool touch. Your life bar maxes out at 6 dots and your weapon can be upgraded to a triple shot. You also have a power bomb, but that's about as complex as the mechanics get. Enemy difficulty is manageable and the bosses are fair. The real challenge comes from the terrain navigation, as the game throws volcanoes and missiles at you from all directions. Things get intense quickly. As an early Game Boy game, Zoids is not that perfect, but what we have here is a solid shmup. And it is definitely one of those shmups that you do not want to miss on the Game Boy. Alright guys, and that's it. Those are 10 shmups, shoot 'em ups on the Game Boy that you do not want to miss. Please tell me what other shmups are there that I'm missing. I'm definitely missing a lot because there definitely are a lot on the Game Boy, and there's so many other things on the Game Boy that you do not want to miss. But these are 10 favorite shmups of mine. And that's it. If you made it to the end of this video, don't forget to click that like button, and also if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe or at least mention it to a friend.